Hello folks, Rob aka MaximumRD here. I am answering the tag from Marlinlee. That's Marlinlee, who basically has tagged all his subscribers. And, I noticed a few great responses, so I would like to try to answer here. It's Marlinlee's before tag, in which he asks 4 different questions. What did you do before? Number 1, what did you do before YouTube? Well, before YouTube, I was still browsing online a lot. I was on a lot of sites. I discovered the wonderful world of forums, which are absolutely great and still are a big part of my online browsing today. And just visiting sites in general. I guess, was it Google? I mean, I guess, yeah, Google's the big one now, but prior to Google, I guess there was Yahoo search, and it's hard to even imagine there was any other search engine. Yahoo, and I know the name escapes me. I guess Netscape. Netscape had its own specific search engine, I think, if I remember correctly. And I guess AOL. And yeah, there were groups and sites dedicated to the same things. I was interested then in the same things that I'm still interested in now, not surprisingly: computers, electronics, gadgets, technology in general. So whatever I could find, whatever information, whatever forums, whatever websites, that's pretty much what I did online before YouTube. Question 2, what did you do before the internet? Before the internet. The dark times. Yeah, well, I mean, really, it's funny. The internet as we know it today is one thing. This interconnected web browser type of environment. I'm not going to get in the whole history of things. A lot of you already know it. But basically, there were other sources. There were connections online, of course, as I think Marlinlee mentioned in Atari Leaf. Yes, there were BBSs. There were community bulletin boards that were text-based, very slow, and you would interact with these same online communities that same thing. They were all about games and gaming, and pretty much downloading and uploading files as much as you could. Leave your slow modem on overnight, and hopefully by the next day you'd have a few new demos and games to check out. Oh, it's amazing to think back to those times now when everything we speak about upload and download ratios being hundreds of kilobytes a second, even megabytes a second now. It's just incredible what we did. But before the internet, I was still online in some form. Number 3, what did you do before computers? Oh, wow. That was a long time ago. I've been into computers for a really, really long time. Before the 2, prevalent platforms that we now know as the Mac and the PC, which I always thought was silly because a Mac is a PC. It's a personal computer, but I know I'm not going to get into that whole thing now, but before Mac and PC, I was into Commodore Amiga, and before that I was into Commodore 64, prior to that VIC-20, and before that the old school Commodore PET computers with the green monochrome screens. So I'd say what I did before computers was, I think as Atari Leaf mentioned, was I was outdoors a lot more, basically. Big surprise here. I was never really much to participate in sports or much of a sports spectator. It just didn't interest me. I was always interested in technology, electronics, things like that. So even before computers, even like some kind of handheld gadgets, any toys that had any kind of electronics in them. It could be like I had G.I. Joe action figures. I had this big monster looking thing with like 6 legs. It was green, looked like a dinosaur, and it would walk around, and when you flashed a beam of light into the front of it, it would freeze and its eyes would light up and it would make this noise. It was really weird, but I was fascinated by that. I was fascinated by how does this flashlight make this electronic toy react that way, you know. So I was always into those electronics and things like that, you know. So yeah, I guess as I said, I got out a lot more. I exercised more. I rode my bike. I played with my friends, tag and hide and go seek, and you know, did the things that most kids did before computers. What did you do before video games? Wow. Again, a long time ago, right? And I can actually say I was there before video games, or at least video games as we know it today. I mean, I was around before Pong, you know, so at least the popular Pong that took off in the arcades. Of course, I was very young at that time. I would say prior to video games, I was into reading and drawing and sketching a lot. Most of my friends collected Cracked and Mad magazine. I did too, somewhat more Mad and Mad comics, but I was more into sci-fi, horror. Even at the earliest age, it's like I would watch Sesame Street and Electric Company like my friends or whatever, but then I'd turn around and watch the Universal Monsters, Frankenstein, Mummy, Dracula. That stuff never scared me. I was always fascinated by it, and because of this, a magazine that I bought a lot was Famous Monsters in Filmland by Warren Publications. I just love that. I ate it up. I absorbed it. I just loved reading about how they did all this special effects and how they created the strange creatures and things like that. So I'd say I pretty much before video games, I tried to absorb as much information about monsters and creatures and effects and things like that. So that's what I did. Those are my before responses for Marlinlee. Thanks for a great idea for a response video. And that's it. Rob out.